Hey everyone. So this video is going to be a little bit different from the other chart with me video that I did. So today I'm going to be focusing on USDJPY, which is the United States dollar versus the Japanese yen. And then we're going to talk about GBP That's a mouthful, but it is the British pound versus the Japanese yen. And basically, this week I plan to look at Forex a little bit more. I don't really plan to trade the stock market all that much, mainly because I haven't traded these pairs in a long, long time. So I wanted to basically start from scratch and mark up my charts as if, I'm starting from fresh, which is actually obviously what I'm doing. So let's jump right into it. So let's start with this one. All right, let me make myself smaller and then let's hop into it. All right. Okay, I think that's fine. Anyway, so typically when I do my analysis, I'm starting on the weekly chart. And the weekly chart is good mainly because it gives you a lot of information about, stuff that has happened a long time ago. I'm going to take a sip of water. All right. So it's giving you a lot of information about stuff that's happened a long time ago. And if you've been looking at the stock market or at Forex or any other market, basically you will see that price tends to move in cycles. So, like for instance, when price came here at this level, it dropped and then it got close to this level again. Prices are all zones, it dropped again. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and which is why I like to start on the weekly. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark up my chart. And I like to use boxes for my lines. You can use actual lines down here, or you can use horizontal rays. Whatever you want to use, whatever you're comfortable with, go ahead and use it. So I'm just gonna oops, I'm not gonna start there. I'm gonna start with the most recent high, which is here. Alrighty. So now, so what I'm doing is I'm marking off the most recent high and low. I really like to start there just because it's easier. I do have another video on this channel about support and resistance. So if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and watch that video first because this is going to make a lot more sense. And I'll probably put a card somewhere in this video so that way you can go ahead and watch that and then maybe come back to this if you want to, or you could just watch this and get some information from there. So, like I said, I like to mark off the most recent support and resistance or highs and lows. And I like to keep these levels or these ranges kind of skinny, mainly because on the weekly time frame, as we go down in time frames, we're going to see this box get bigger and bigger, or at least it's going to appear to get bigger and bigger. And I just want to make sure that I don't have really large zones. I don't really like large zones. I try to keep it as tight as possible. All right, so now I'm moving down to the daily. And as I move down in time frames, all I'm doing is just adjusting my levels. So just making it, making sure it still makes sense. Because I don't know if we'll see an example of that, but basically, as you go down in time frames, the candles, let me back up. So if you look on a higher time frame, like this wick, say for example, is going to be it's going to look like a wick on this higher time frame, but as you go down to lower time frames, say maybe down to the 30-minute time frame. Oop, what happened to my boxes? That was weird. Oh, wait, let's go back. Okay, let's maybe not do such a big jump. Let's go maybe to the 4 hour. All right. So you can see on the 4 hour, like the area where it looked like a wick, these are now candles. So that's why as I go down in time frames, I'm going to be adjusting these boxes. So let's go back to the daily, just make sure that everything looks right. So I really like this high and low. I really like the placement of this. And then I'm looking left. So as I look at this 140 level, then I'm looking, I can drag this across, all the way across, because what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a low with a previous high. So not to get too deep into market structure here, but basically, this is what I look for when I'm marking off my levels, mainly because this was in the past a resistance level, and then at some point it turned into a support level. So, since there's no history up here, this is at least this is all that we have on this market. When we go to GJ, we may see a little bit more, but basically, I like the top. It's looking good still. So let's go to H4. So as you can see, these candles are getting further and further apart. Basically, what I mean by that is we're seeing a lot more data from when we first started on the weekly. So, and then that's to be expected. So, what you can do from here, if you want to, is you can mark off intraday levels. So, intraday is basically any time frame that is below the daily. Those are going to be called intraday levels. And all I'm doing is just looking for highs and lows. I'm just marking off highs and lows. So, I'm going to keep these yellow bars the way it is because these are the major highs and lows, especially since we marked them off on the weekly time frame. We adjusted them on the daily time frame. So sometimes for that, I still like to use boxes. Sometimes I use lines, but what I'm looking for are areas that have touched the most. So as you can see, right here, we had some rejection, rejection, rejection all through here. And then this is kind of a support that formed. It doesn't really look like it because it didn't touch this yellow line, but basically what was happening here is it gapped. So you could have a price actually touch your line, and then sometimes there may be a space, but basically it's got to be close enough. Like there's no exact science when it comes to charting. It's all about what looks good to you. So actually, I'm going to mark off another level. I'm going to mark off this little high right here because for instance, if I'm looking at this with real, well, actually, this is real market data because now the market is open. This is a Sunday night, and in the US, so the market opened up, what time is it? Opened up about 47 minutes ago. So I want to mark this off because this is a potential tradable range right here. If price close up above here, then I got this range. Now, this isn't enough range for me to actually trade it, but say hypothetically, if it was enough range, all that means is room for it to go higher, then I could potentially, excuse me, then I could potentially trade it. Ah, so I like this level. I like this, although it's a gap. And then once again, look left and just kind of see what's happening there. Ooh, okay, I see something that looks really good. So let me scoot this in a lot and then let me drag this over. So you'll see in a second, or you may already notice it, but basically I like this. So I like that price tapped into the zone. Remember, it's all price zones, not really an exact price. I like to tap in here. There's a lot of consolidation here, so it's not really something that I'm really focused on, but I like that tap into here and it rejected. So you can see rejection, big rejection, rejection, rejection. So basically this area right here, this 148 is a nice support kind of zone. Let's see. Oh, we see a rejection right here, but in the oops, but in the opposite direction. So let me zoom in super quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here you can see that a resistance was formed. We have this bullish candle paired with a bearish candle forming a resistance. It rejected this zone right here, this 148 zone. So if we look at price action, actually, here's another example. Another area where price rejected the zone and it went down, rejected, went down. Let's scroll through. This didn't quite get into that zone, but it kind of did. Um, I mean, zones, I mean, actually, let's go like this. So a zone could be like this whole area right here. Actually, it could be a little bit bigger. Like this is all pretty much a zone. But I like to, like I said, I like to keep my lines really skinny because it really helps me and I don't have a whole bunch of visual clutter on my charts. So Price got into the zone, rejected, and went down. Let's scroll over. Oops, same thing over here. So this is why I marked this off earlier. And let me zoom back out a little bit so that way it's easier to see. Actually, let me just do this. Alrighty, cool. Actually, let me adjust it so that way it can stop changing. All right, cool. So I'm really liking this line. And then actually, I do want to mark one more line. So I'm looking at the low right here. You can see there's some rejections happening here. And then we also have um, an old resistance. So we got an old resistance here. And then we got an old or old support here. It's old because it's not like this was February 1st and today it is the 18th. So it's old by like 2 or 3 weeks almost, but basically this is giving us a lot of good information. This tells me that this intraday zone here at 146 is maybe a good opportunity. So let me go like this, drag it all the way over. All right, cool. Let me zoom out and adjust my chart. Okay, good. I really like the way this is looking. So, and then here are some minor levels right here. I'm probably not going to mark those off just because for me, I like to swing trade. So, me marking off these tiny levels, like for instance, right here, that pink line right there, or like this kind of, like this zone right here. Not really going to mark those off. I mean, I'm gonna keep them on here, but basically, this isn't something that I would be looking for as a trade idea, but I like this. So basically, if we look at this H4 chart, we can see that the trend, let's go back. Okay, we can see generally that the trend is up because from here it went up, it came back for a correction. And the reason why this is a correction and not a reversal is because right here, when it came to 140, it did not break these lows over here at 137, this kind of 137 zone. So you can see this all as a correction. And what I'm seeing right now is that price bounced off of this level and it's continuing to go up. And this means that there's a possibility for it to at least reach the previous highs of 151 and could go potentially higher. So earlier I talked about this not being enough range. I kind of misspoke. Well, it isn't. It isn't typically enough range for me, but basically since we're on the H4 time frame, this is a lot, this range is a lot bigger than say if I was looking at it on the 30 minute. So let's mark off this range. Actually, I'm going to keep this on here. So, okay, actually, I take that back. It's not enough range for me. This is only 88. Gosh, I forgot how to read this. Every chart is different. But basically, I would be looking for a much larger move. So something that would be a decent range for me would be maybe from this level. You can see that it's, I want to say, is that 300 pips? Like it's always weird for me to read this. Or no, is that 300? Yeah, I think it's 300. I have to pull up my notes later and make sure I'm saying this right. But basically, like this is a decent move. I would like this a lot more. But that's not to say that, tomorrow or whenever if price got up here and I got a buy signal above this line that I wouldn't take it, I would probably just lower my risk just in case price does the same thing over here that it did over here. What it did over here is it came up to this level and then rejected and came down. So since price moves in cycles, there's a possibility for price to do that again on this chart. I mean, obviously you just never know, but if price breaks this high right here at 150, I may actually enter that position for a low risk. And then if price was to break out of here, I may want to enter another position. So I typically like to trade breakouts, mainly because um, like for me, I don't know. I like catching the move, and then when it does a correction, let me explain what I'm talking about. So, say hypothetically, if price broke out of here, meaning that it broke this 151 level, came up to about here at 154, I would probably exit somewhere. around here, or if I was getting signs and wonders from the candles that price may be reversing, exit for a profit, and then wait for the correction, maybe somewhere down here, and then enter again to go and tap into this high again. So I really like that sort of trading style. You may have a different trading style, so basically whatever works for you, but that's what I like doing. So I really like how this chart is looking on the 4 hour. Then let me just go to the 2 hour really quick. And all I'm doing on these lower time frames is just checking my lines, just making sure that it still looks good. So let me get the zoom in tool right here because this is the area I want to check. You can see that there's some rejection here, tons of rejection here. Now this right here, let me see. Okay, good. Now this area right here, you can see that, this candle came up, this candle came up, and basically what that is, it could be a potential fake out depending on how you want to look at it. So it could be a fake out. Some people also say it price tested this area. So these are tested candles. But basically, the overall story here is that price came up, then it came back down, and then did a big correction, stopped about here, and then continued up. So hypothetically, once price actually, I think these zones are a little big for me. But anyway, but hypothetically, if price broke and closed above this level, you probably want to enter somewhere around there for this breakout if you have that type of trading style. If not, you wait for the correction. Here's the support and then continue up. So and that would have been a nice profit right there. So when I'm marking up these charts, I'm just kind of looking, I'm really paying attention to what happened in the past and how, if I was in the market, how I would be looking at potentially taking that trade. Because this trade played out when or like a couple weeks ago, and who's to say that it won't happen again in the next couple of weeks? So it's not just about marking up these charts, it's about really focusing on what the candles are doing on all of these time frames. So there's not one magic time frame that you need to look at in order to make a determination as to whether or not you should enter the market. All of them matter. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's kind of like checking the chart and seeing, how I could have potentially taken that trade in the live market. Okay, I actually like this, to be honest. Okay, I thought it looked a little big, but it actually looks good to me. I will adjust this just because I want my zones to be kind of skinny. All right, cool. Okay, that looks good right there. Okay, yeah, that actually looks good. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, cool. I like the way this chart is set up, and then I do want to take a peek at this on H1 because for these type of trades, I like to enter on H1. I feel like it's a safer time frame compared to like the 15 or the 5. So when I first started trading, I used to try to take trades on the 5 minute because I saw other people doing it, and for me, it didn't really work out. So I just started moving up in time frames, and I saw that these higher time frames, like H1, 45, etc., were higher confirmation time frames, and I started to win more trades when I use those higher time frames. So I'm just taking a peek, just making sure that my levels look right. Actually, I am going to adjust that one just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, you got to scroll all the way back in order to be able to adjust it. And then let me zoom in this area. Okay, I like that better. Okay, I like that better. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? I like this little level right there too. So I'm just making adjustments. So I want this to be a support because you can see that price right here, reject it, and then and then it moved up. So I'm just trying to make my charts clean. I still like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I really like that because that would have been an entry candle right there. It would have been a little scary with this doji, but it went up. So just gotta trust your analysis. I know it's hard. All right, cool. So let me zoom out. So I really like the way that this looks. I probably want to make these other levels a little thinner just because I like super clean charts. All right. Actually, I'm just gonna move this like right there and then adjust it just a little bit. I just kind of take the average of the wicks, especially these really long ones. Like well, I don't want a zone like that. Some people do. That's not my thing. I like them to be real thin just because I want to be able to read the price action and see what's happening on my charts. So I like that. Okay, cool. There's one more level that I want to check is this one up here, the very first one that I drew out. Okay, yeah, that actually looks good. Okay, cool. So let me zoom all the way out again, make this smaller. All right, cool. So so basically here are my charts all marked up. This one I may adjust at some point in the future, but I mean this one right here. But right now it looks good to me. These other ones look good to me. Oh, did I adjust this? Yeah, I think so. Wait, let me zoom in. No, I didn't. Okay. Let me zoom in because this level on the H1, since this is more than likely going to be my entry time frame, that just looks too thick. This bar looks too thick. And then if you make these bars really long, then you have to do all this zooming in and zooming out and all of that just to adjust your bar. So I'm trying to find the center of it, but I don't know where it's at. So what we're gonna do is, okay, so we're just gonna do it. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so it's like I can barely see it. It's like the thing that I'm looking at is over here, and my adjustment is over here. So that looks fine. So let's go ahead and exit that, and then zoom in again. Okay, cool. Then I'm actually just gonna move this. And an easier way to do this is to actually go to a higher time frame, so that way you can see a lot more. See, there you go. But then you can't tell like what you actually wanted to adjust. So you may have to do this a couple of times. But let's go back to H1. Okay, ooh, okay, yeah, that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Okay, great. I just had to go to H12. So anyway, so let's zoom out and let's admire our artwork here because this is how I see my charts. Like people will be like, "Oh, can you start with a blank chart?" And it's like, if I'm doing a chart with me and I already got my lines marked up, I'm not clearing my chart. Like go back and look at my other videos. And this one, you guys are benefiting because I'm starting with all clean charts because I haven't looked at these in probably like a year, maybe more than a year. I do have some videos on this channel. I know for GJ for sure, USDJPY or UJ, I'm not 100% sure, but here is a markup. And basically, what I'm waiting for, actually, let me add my alert because I'm looking for a clean close above here. I may take a low risk trade and see if it comes up here and maybe want to bust through or whatever, and just kind of go from there. So who knows when that's going to happen? Ooh, actually, I just realized that I do want to put another intraday level right here. And it's mainly because um, I'm seeing this like strong support right here. And it's pretty, and once you look at these charts, I mean, I've been looking at charts for years. So, and then doing all this chart work for years. And if this seemed foreign to you, please watch this again. And then watch the other chart with me videos because I go into a lot of depth. So pretty much you can see where price came down, it stopped, and then it took off, kind of. It went right here. And, who knows, like price may actually come back, down here to tap into this level again, then may go up here. Obviously, you never know what price is going to do, but based on what has happened in the past, you can get an indication. So, okay, so I feel like we are set on this. And one of the other reasons why I put this level right here was mainly because price is currently trending up. But if price starts trending down and price starts to break this level and close below this level, then what that means is that price could potentially do this, come down, make an indication of where it wants to go, probably this wick over here. So let me erase that because it's a little confusing now. Okay, so price may come down. It has to close below this level. It'll probably stop somewhere right here. It'll either continue up or it'll form a resistance and then come all the way back down here. And then that would be an opportunity for me to take a short position. And then if price continued for some reason to do the same thing here, then I could take it to about this level. So basically, my trading style also includes trading from zone to zone, which is why I like to draw out these different zones. So basically, think of it like this. If price breaks and close up above here, I'm buying. If price, I don't know where I'm getting these words from. Anyway, if price breaks and closes below here, then I could take a sell. But since we're in an uptrend, a sell is possible, but it could be a little risky, just because it'll be a counter trend trade. And with counter trend trades, they can change at any time. So I think this is good. I'm gonna leave this alone. So let's go ahead and look at UJ. All right. So once again, same situation. I'm going to go ahead and mark up GJ. So, okay, yeah. So once again, we're starting on the weekly chart here because we got a lot of information. Price moves in cycles, as I've been saying throughout this video. So what I'm going to do is mark up my most recent high. Um, and I'm doing it right here because price had formed a resistance right here, and now it's trading above that resistance, letting me know that there may be a possibility for price to continue up. You just never know. So let me take this and copy it, and then we're going to find our most recent high. So this is our high low. So now we got this low right here. And now we got a nice little zone here. Now you can draw out more zones if you want to. Sometimes I do, so like my next zone would be somewhere right here, and if you see where I have the cursor, we have these lows over here, and then this corresponding high over here. So we have a high with a low, and look, it bounced off of this level and went up. I mean, granted, these are weekly candles, but so yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep this one. Probably not gonna draw any other ones lower than that. So now let's go down to the daily. So once again, I'm just making this. Actually, let me zoom out. Okay, there we go. So we're on the daily chart, and if you want to get to the daily, all you got to do is press 1 and then D, and then it'll put you on the daily chart. If I wanted to go back to the weekly without being able to see the stuff up here, then you just type in 1W, and then it'll take me back to the weekly. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So, but that was a long time ago. That was almost 10 years ago. So we focused on recent price action. But anyway, let's go back to the daily, 1D. All right. So now I got my high and my low marked off, and then I have another low right here just in case for whatever reason price came down. So now I'm going to make my adjustments on the daily. I still like the way that things are looking. This looks really good right here. This still looks good right here. And if we scroll across, we can see that price tapped into this 155 zone and bounced a few times. Even though this broke below, you see this huge wick at the bottom, and it continued up. So this is telling me that this is a really strong zone, this 155 zone. Let's see, could I adjust it? Yeah, I can actually adjust it up just because I have some gaps. So, and what I mean by gaps is, we have these really long wicks right here, and we had a bunch of space between where the body of the candle, let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so we had these gaps where basically, um, I like to place these like pretty much at the body, sometimes covering the wicks. It just all depends on what it looks like to me. As you do this more and more, you'll start to form your own bias and choose whatever looks good to you. But basically, we saw this rejection here, and then price went up, and then it came back down to this 150. Now it's 156, 155, 156 zone. So this looks nice to me on the daily. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Still looks good. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, awesome. So now let me go down to H4 because we got all these wicks right here, all this rejection right here. This, once again, price came down, but then went up, came back, tested this level, went up, tested this level, and then it went up. So it tells me that since this touched 1, 2, 3, and let's say 4 times, this zone right here is really, really strong. So I really like how this is looking on the daily chart. So now let's go to H4. All right. So once again, I'm going to hit this button so that way I can see more of the chart. And the only thing about trading views, if I want to use that zoom tool, then I have to exit this and hit zoom. So that is annoying. That would be cool if they had it in the toolbar, but you know, it's not a life or death thing. It's still really great software for charting. So I'm just making my adjustments to my levels. Okay, that looks fine. Rejection, rejection. All a rejection zone. That still looks fine to me. And then down here, we got some rejection here, here, big rejection. Okay, this is all still looking fine to me. So let me zoom out. Um, Actually, I do want to make this a little bit slimmer because of this right here. Let me zoom in. Yeah, so I want it to be closer to these candles that reject it. Um, these candles right here that rejected bounced off of this 189 or 179, hard to see, 179 level, and then went all the way up here. This is a huge move. This would have been an awesome trade because it was just clean price action, created a high, had a little pullback, created a high, little pullback. And then it took a little time for it to break this high, but then once it did, it continued all the way up. And then it started to get choppy and then dropped a little bit. But this was a really clean move, really clean. So anyway, so yeah, that's a nice zone. This 179 zone. Just look across again. Okay, looks good. Okay, great. So now let me hop down to the 2 hour and just kind of see how price is doing. That still looks fine. However, I do want to adjust this a little bit. So I'm gonna make this smaller and move it up. So what I did is I saw this area right here. I just wanted to cover the wick here, put the line or the box at the body, and then right here, kind of the same thing. We had a clean break with this bullish candle right here, formed a support, but then it broke the support with this bearish candle right here, but then it came back up with these low momentum candles. So, not the strongest confirmations. I don't know what times those were, but it's good information. And I just wanted my line to match up with that. So that line is looking good. This line is still looking great. So now let me minimize. I'm trying to make sure I got all my levels. Okay, yeah, that's the one I just did. Okay, great. So now what I'm gonna do, I typically like to do this on these lower ones is draw out some intraday levels. So once again, an intraday level is a level that basically a time any time frame that's below the daily, those are going to be called intraday levels that you mark off. So all I'm doing is just looking for the lows. So let me go ahead and I kind of like this. I kind of like this. And then looking over to the left, I kind of have this area right here. So I'm gonna do it like that. Actually, let me move this over. Okay, there we go. So nice. I like the rejections here. A little choppy here, so you wouldn't have been trading this area. Otherwise, your money would have gotten taken, taken big time. So right here, so I actually want this to be a nice support. And look left, it's still kind of in the zone. We may make an adjustment on H1, but I like the way that looks. And then I want to draw another intraday level. So right here, where we have this low, where we have all these little rejections right here, price broke up, went up here. So I like the way that looks. And then I can actually drag it over. And you can see right here, it's kind of there's a gap area. It did reject the zone, like this whole kind of zone over here. Um, but this would be considered a gap because it's not necessarily touching my level. So that still looks great to me. Yeah, I really like how this is looking. All right, let's adjust it a little bit. So now we're a little bit closer. So I think this is probably all the zones that I'm gonna draw. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna draw another one right here because now I can see clearly what's happening at the top. And there's a clear resistance up here at 190. So that looks like a nice resistance level because it went up and it went straight down. So let's go down to H1. All right, this is looking really good to me. All right, so let me see. So if I just wanted to take a trade right above here, and let me see what kind of range. So I'm looking to see how much range it is. If it's like, some hundreds of pips that I could get, then that would be really cool. Especially if price came up and closed above here, then I could target this high right here. Um, but for me, this is not looking like a whole lot, so probably would not take that trade. I would probably want something in this like 188 zone, and then that range would be here. Yeah, that would be a lot better. So, um, yeah, I would like that a lot better. So just for my trading style, especially because I'm a swing trader, I'm not a scalper or anything like that. So scalpers look for like 10, 20, 30 pips, and that's cool. They make a boatload of money from that. That's just not my style at all. Mainly because I do work a full-time job and I really don't have time to sit in front of this and and look all day. So not the scalpers look all day, but at least most don't. But I don't have the time for that. I rather just put it on and just let it do its thing. So, but anyway, but this is good for me to know. If it breaks above here, then it's possibility that price is going up. So I'm going to put this right here. Doesn't mean that I'm going to actually take this trade, but it's just information for me for when I look at this later. Um, and then if we zoom out a little bit on this time frame, I think my other levels they look decent. I see. I want to adjust this one, make it a little bit thinner. And the reason why I'm doing this is because of right here. Then I'm seeing how price looks here. So let's zoom in really quick. Alrighty, cool. I like the way this looks. This is a clear support right here. This is a clear resistance right here, and we got all of this rejection in here. So I'm liking the way that this looks. So cool. So that looks awesome. And then this still looks awesome down here with all of these rejections that are happening. So I like that. All right, cool. Let me see if I want to draw any other. No, I think that's pretty cool. So looking at this H1 chart, the only way I would be interested in selling is if price broke below here. So let me mark it off. So right there. So pretty much if price broke below this level right here at 187.905, broke and closed. I like candle closure confirmations just because it's a lot safer. Like I do take entries at times when price is fluctuating, but that's a lot risky or a lot more risky because if you enter the market when the price or the candle's still fluctuating, there's a chance for price to reverse or do something else crazy, and then your stop loss is hit, and then that's it. So typically on those type of trades, I do lower my risk just in case that happens. But when it doesn't, that typically in those situations, I'm able to get a tighter stop or a really, really tight stop loss, and then maximize my reward. So when it works out, it's amazing. When it doesn't, it kind of sucks. But it's just the way it is. It's all probabilities. Everything in the market is all about probabilities. So I would only be interested in price if a candle, if I get a candle confirmation with a closure down below this level right here, it'll do something like this, kind of retest it and come down. But GJ is one of those pairs where sometimes it does not do a retest, and I've seen it. Let me see if I can find an example. So, like, here's an example of it going up, where basically price, it came up here, it did retest a little bit, so it gave a little pullback, but not much. It just took off, and then there wasn't really an opportunity for you to enter the trade until all the way up here. And then by that time, I'm not interested in the trade because all of this in here has already happened. So yeah, so GJ sometimes do not give retests. So, but anyway, I would only be interested in a trade, a sell going down here because look at all of this range right here. I mean, like, yeah, price could potentially stop here, but that's a decent range, almost 100 pips if I'm reading this right. Um, and then, okay, there's a wick, so 135, but overall, almost 200. So, yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing trade right there. So anyway, and then yeah, there could be a potential for right here, but I think that's a little bit riskier. I like this better because it has a lot more range than this area right here. So just to compare, it would be like from here to here. Okay, nice, almost 100 pips, but then from here to here is almost 200. So I will be more interested in this trade right here versus the other one. And it will be a lot safer too, in my opinion. So anyway, so yeah, so this is pretty much the markup of GJ and UJ. So go ahead and let me know what you've learned down in the comment section below. And I'll continue to create these kind of videos because basically I'm doing it myself anyway. So I figured that you all can get a lot of benefit from you just seeing what I do on a weekly basis when I mark on my charts. Talk to you later.